My son had been traveling for work for at least 2 years. That's what my daughter-in-law told me. Sloane was always very attentive, almost too attentive. One Saturday morning at the farmer's market, a delivery driver put a package in my hands and whispered, "Are you Nash's father?" I nodded, and he looked around nervously. "I can't keep this anymore. Watch it alone." I went home and opened the package at my kitchen table. What I found inside made the room spin. Before I explain what was in it, I need to know where you are watching this from and what time it is there. The Saturday farmer's market in Riverside, Oregon had been my routine for decades. At 63, I found comfort in the familiar rhythm, choosing tomatoes from Martha's stand, talking about the weather with neighbors who had known me since Rose and I bought the ranch 40 years ago. The October air felt crisp and reminded me of easier days. My name is Henry Hayes, and for 3 years, 2 months, and 8 days, I told everyone my son Nash was doing well overseas with his consulting job. Dubai, Singapore, Tokyo. Sloane always explained it smoothly when people asked, saying it was the modern professional life. She smiled, but it never felt real. I wanted to believe her. I tried. I was looking at late-season apples when I sensed someone watching me. "Mr. Hayes." The voice came from a man in his 30s wearing a delivery uniform. His face was pale and his hands shook as he held out a brown paper package. "You're Nash Hayes's father." "I am," I said, setting down my basket. "Do I know you?" "No, sir. My name is Dean Shaw." He scanned the crowd nervously. "I've been making deliveries for someone, and I saw your son and his voice dropped to a whisper. "I can't keep this anymore. The truth matters, Mr. Hayes. Whatever they told you, the truth matters." He pushed the package into my hands urgently, then stepped back. "I'm sorry. I tried to do the right thing, but I have a family. I can't." He disappeared into the Saturday crowd before I could ask what he meant. I reached my truck, and my hands began to shake. The package sat on the passenger seat, just plain brown paper, hiding whatever had terrified that man enough to come find me. I drove the 10 miles home on autopilot, my mind racing. The ranch sat at the end of a long gravel road on 30 acres that Rose and I built our life on. After she passed 2 years ago, the silence in that house became a weight I carried every day. I set the package on the kitchen table, the same oak table where our family used to eat together, and forced myself to open it. Inside was a USB drive, a folded letter, and a photograph that stopped my heart. The photo showed Nash, my son, thinner than I remembered, with hollow cheeks and a haunted look in his eyes. He stood in front of a concrete wall, holding a newspaper dated April 14th of this year, 6 months ago. The background looked cold and institutional, and he seemed to be posing because someone made him. This wasn't a business trip. This wasn't Dubai or Singapore. This was something else. I opened the letter. It began, "Mr. Hayes, my name is Dean Shaw. I work for Quick Ship Deliveries. For the past year, I've been making deliveries to a facility outside Portland on behalf of your daughter-in-law." I looked at the photograph again, then at the USB drive on the table like a loaded weapon. Nash wasn't overseas. He had never left Oregon. For a moment, I just stared. Then I reached for the USB drive. Rose's old laptop sat in the corner, the one she bought me 3 years ago so I could email Nash overseas. I turned it on and prepared to see the truth. The irony hit me as I turned on the laptop and inserted the drive. 6 video files appeared, each labeled with dates from the past 14 months. I opened the first one. It showed my own kitchen, the same room where I was sitting, recorded from a camera near the ceiling. The timestamp was last November, Tuesday afternoon. I watched Sloane come in through the back door with her key, go straight to the cabinet where I kept financial documents, and photograph the pages with her phone. 4 minutes later, she left. I had been at book club that day. The second video showed Rose's study. Sloane went through files my wife had organized and photographed tax returns and property records. The third video was in the basement, where she searched old storage boxes I hadn't touched since Rose died. Every video showed the same pattern. Sloane moved through my house like a professional, gathering information about the ranch and our assets. My shock slowly turned into something colder. I put the videos aside and read the rest of Dean Shaw's letter. His handwriting was tight and hurried. Mr. Hayes, I work for Quick Ship Deliveries. For the past year, I've been delivering packages to a facility outside Portland for your daughter-in-law. The pay was good, no questions asked. 3 weeks ago, I saw your son through a window during a delivery. He looked at me like he recognized the outside world, like a prisoner seeing sunlight. I started asking questions and following leads. Nash hasn't been traveling. He has been institutionalized this whole time. I have a family, and I've been warned to stay out of it. But your son needs help I can't give. Someone has to know. The letter ended there, with only his typed name. I opened the final file on the drive. It was a medical report. It read, ***patient Nash James Hayes. **facility **Cedarbrook Care Center, 2847, Riverside Drive, Portland. Diagnosis severe traumatic brain injury. Cognitive impairment. Requires ongoing supervision. Legal guardian Sloane Calloway. Visitation restricted. Guardian approval required. My son hadn't been overseas. He had been in a care facility only an hour away. The admission date froze me in place. 3 years, 2 months, and 9 days ago. One day after Nash was supposed to have left for his first assignment in Dubai. Sloane had taken legal guardianship while I was telling everyone my son was traveling and building his career. She had kept him in a facility less than an hour from my ranch, close enough for me to visit any weekend. And for 3 years, she had been searching my house, photographing documents, and looking for something. I didn't know what. I sat in the dim kitchen, Rose's laptop glowing on the table, and finally understood the scale of the lie. My son hadn't been overseas. He had been locked away. Sloane had maintained the perfect story while she continued her search, piece by piece, through my life. Tomorrow she would drop off the kids. Tomorrow I would see her and pretend I knew nothing. My fear faded, replaced with a cold sense of purpose. The next morning, Sloane texted me. Can you watch Ivy and Knox today? Something came up. I replied calmly. Of course. Happy to have them. Within an hour, the children came through the door. Knox, 6 years old, ran to me with the old toy truck that once belonged to Nash. Ivy, 8, stayed quiet and studied my face like she could sense something was wrong. Who wants to make cookies? I asked, leading them to the kitchen where Rose once taught Nash to bake. We mixed the ingredients. Knox talked non-stop while Ivy worked silently and carefully. Grandpa, she whispered, when is Daddy coming home? I froze, thinking of the photograph, the haunted look in Nash's eyes, and the years taken from him. Your daddy loves you very much, I said softly. No matter where he is, that will never change. Mommy says he's too busy to call, Knox added, his smile fading. Did Daddy forget us? I knelt and pulled them close. Never. Your father would never forget you. I promise. Ivy looked at me, her eyes searching my face for the truth. You promise? Ivy asked. I promise I'll find out what's happening with your daddy, I said. After lunch, the kids played in the yard while I watched from the porch. Knox ran through the tall grass with his toy truck. Ivy sat under Rose's apple tree, drawing in her notebook. Later, she showed me her picture, our family as stick figures holding hands. The figure labeled Daddy stood apart, separated by a dark line. It felt like a message she didn't know how to say out loud. Sloane arrived at 6, perfectly put together in designer jeans and cashmere. Thank you so much, Henry. I don't know what I'd do without you. Anytime. They're good kids, I said. She paused at the door, and I recognized the shift in her expression. This was what she had really come for. By the way, she said casually, I've been helping Nash with some investment questions from overseas. I was hoping Rose might have kept copies of certain financial documents, old property records, maybe trust papers. You and Rose were always so organized. There it was, the real reason she needed me today. I kept my voice even. I'm not sure what I have. I can look if you want. Relief flickered in her eyes. That would be wonderful. No rush. Maybe I could come by next week and we could go through things together. Sure, I replied. After she left with the kids, I stood alone in the kitchen as the truth settled in. Sloane had been searching my house for 3 years, digging through everything she could, trying to find something Rose had hidden. She still hadn't found it. Now she wanted my help to finish the job. But there was one place she didn't know about, a place even I had nearly forgotten. Rose had always been careful with important documents. After she passed, I found a small key in her desk with a tag that read, *Riverside Community Bank, Box 247. At the time, I was too deep in grief to deal with it. I put it away and never went back to it. Tomorrow, I would. Whatever Sloane was after, Rose had kept it out of her reach. Monday morning came faster than I expected. I stood outside Riverside Community Bank at 9 sharp, holding the key I found in Rose's desk. The clerk looked up and smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Hayes. How can I help you?" "I need to access my late wife's safety deposit box," I said, handing over the key and my ID. She checked her screen, nodded, and led me through the vault door into a private room. The metal box slid out easily, heavier than I imagined. She left me alone with whatever Rose had hidden. Inside the box, I found a legal document labeled **Hayes Family Trust, Confidential ***, a sealed envelope marked * for Henry. If you're reading this, I'm gone *, and copies of property deeds and financial records. My hands shook as I opened the envelope first. Rose's handwriting covered the pages, dated 6 months before she died. My dearest Henry, **. If you're reading this, I'm gone, and I hope you never needed to find this. But I learned to trust my instincts, and mine about Sloane have worried me for years. I've noticed small things, lies about where she's been, money that doesn't match her salary, the way she watches Nash when she thinks no one is looking. Not with love, but with calculation. I created this trust without telling anyone except Chase Holt. It protects Nash and the children. If anything happens to Nash, if Sloane tries to control his assets or ours, this document prevents it. The ranch, the land, everything stays in trust for Nash and the kids, managed by you. She gets nothing. Fight for our son, Henry. Don't accept easy explanations. You're stronger than you think. All my love. Rose **. I sat alone in the small bank room, holding her letter, feeling something crack open inside me. Rose had known. She sensed the danger long before the rest of us, and she had tried to protect our family even after she was gone. 20 minutes later, I walked into Chase Holt's law office downtown. He looked up, worry immediately crossing his face. "Henry, what's wrong?" he asked. I told him everything, Dean Shaw's package, the videos of Sloane searching my home, the medical report from Cedarbrook, Nash being kept there under Sloane's guardianship. Chase listened in silence, his expression growing darker with every detail. "Rose came to me 3 years ago," he said finally, pulling a file from his cabinet. "Right after her diagnosis. She was worried about something, but she wouldn't say what. This trust is ironclad, Henry. It overrides everything. Sloane has no access to your assets or Nash's inheritance. Can she challenge it? She can try, but Rose was mentally sound when she created it, and medical records from that time prove it." He paused and chose his words carefully. "However, if what you are saying is true, and Sloane got guardianship through fraud, then she has committed several serious crimes. We need stronger evidence than videos and suspicion. We need proof from inside that facility." He opened his desk drawer and took out a business card. "Ford Steele, former FBI. If anyone can get the proof we need, it is him." I took the card and looked at the simple text. I will call him Henry. Chase's voice was serious. These people are dangerous. A journalist started asking questions about places like Cedarbrook 6 months ago. She published one article about guardianship abuse. The article disappeared from the website within 48 hours. 2 weeks later, she died in a hit and run. The case was never solved. Chase handed me the card again. Ford Steele Private Investigations. If anyone can get the proof we need, it is him. But Henry, these people are dangerous. Be very careful. That evening, Ford Steele arrived at my ranch after dark, moving like someone used to danger. He checked my property for surveillance devices before knocking, a precaution that made Chase's warning feel very real. No bugs that I could find, he said as a greeting. But assume you are being watched anyway. Inside, I explained everything while Ford reviewed the videos, the medical report, and Dean Shaw's letter. His face stayed calm until I mentioned Nash at Cedarbrook. This is bigger than family fraud, Ford said in a flat, professional tone. I knew Quinn Drake, the journalist who investigated these places. She was careful and thorough. She published one article about guardianship abuse before it vanished from the newspaper website within 48 hours. 2 weeks later, she was killed in a hit and run on Interstate 5. The driver was never found. He looked straight at me. If they killed a reporter for asking questions, they will not hesitate to do the same to a rancher. The words hit me like ice in my stomach. Ford then explained what he called operational security. Use cash only for anything related to the investigation. Do not discuss the case on the phone. Blair Storm, her lead counsel, looked sharp and expensive in a charcoal suit. Sloane wore navy blue and a look of worried concern, playing the role of a devoted daughter-in-law forced to make hard choices. It made me feel sick. At exactly 9 o'clock, we stood as Judge Grace Mills entered. She was in her early 60s, with grey hair pulled back and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She was known to be fair and had no patience for games. Blair Storm began with practiced sympathy. Your Honor, we are here because of serious concerns about Henry Hayes's declining mental capacity. In recent months, Mr. Hayes has shown forgetfulness, missed medical appointments, and made paranoid accusations against his daughter-in-law. He claims his son, who receives necessary care for a traumatic brain injury, is being held captive. He also claims his loving daughter-in-law broke into his home. These are not the actions of someone capable of managing a 30-acre ranch and significant assets. She presented doctor's notes and incident reports. I listened as every truth I had uncovered was twisted into proof of delusion. Each word felt like a knife. Chase stood. Your Honor, Mr. Hayes is not incompetent. He uncovered a criminal conspiracy, and Ms. Calloway is trying to silence him the same way she silenced his son. Objection, Blair snapped. Judge Mills raised a hand. I will allow it. Continue, Mr. Holt. Chase calmly set up his laptop. Your Honor, these are security recordings from Mr. Hayes's home. The first video appeared on the screen, dated last November. Sloane used her own key to enter while Mr. Hayes was away at a cattle auction. She went straight to Rose's old office, opened the file cabinet, and photographed documents, searching carefully and with purpose. The courtroom stirred. A second video played. Different date, same behavior. Then a third, a fourth, and more. In total, the videos covered 14 months. Every time Mr. Hayes left the ranch, Sloane entered, searching and recording. Sloane's face turned pale. Blair struggled to respond. Your Honor, Ms. Calloway has a key. She was simply checking on her father-in-law's welfare. Welfare checks do not include photographing financial records and going through private papers, Chase said. This was a planned intrusion to find something specific. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, the truth is that Nash Hayes is not incapacitated. His guardianship was obtained through fraud. We have medical evidence from staff inside the facility showing he is fully aware and has been trying to contact his family for months. We request that Nash Hayes be brought before this court for an independent psychiatric evaluation. Blair burst out. Objection. This is inappropriate and outside the scope. Nash Hayes is severely impaired, and transporting him would cause psychological harm. Judge Mills struck the gavel once. Miss Storm, if Mr. Hayes is as impaired as you claim, an evaluation will confirm it. If he is not, then we have serious concerns about this guardianship. She turned to the bailiff. I am ordering Nash Hayes to be brought to this courthouse immediately for an evaluation by a court-appointed psychiatrist. We will resume at 2 p.m. The gavel hit the wood. Sloane's calm expression broke for a brief moment as she leaned toward her lawyers and whispered urgently. In 2 hours, my son would walk into that courtroom, and the truth would finally be seen. At exactly 2 o'clock, the courtroom doors opened. They wheeled Nash in a wheelchair he did not need, part of Sloane's final act. He looked thin and exhausted, but his eyes locked onto mine right away, filled with recognition and strong hope. I had not seen my son in 3 years, 2 months, and 8 days. The man in that chair was not the broken figure Sloane had described. He was trapped, but he was fully aware. Judge Mills nodded to the bailiff. Bring in Dr. Stone. Dr. Wade Stone, the court-appointed psychiatrist, took the stand with calm confidence. Your Honor, I have completed my evaluation of Nash Hayes. Mr. Hayes is fully lucid. He understands his situation, communicates clearly, and shows no signs of the impairments described in the facility records. He does not need a guardian and should be allowed to speak for himself. In my professional opinion, his continued confinement has no medical justification. The courtroom erupted. Judge Mills struck the gavel again. Blair tried to object, but the judge stopped her. Dr. Stone's credentials are beyond question. Mr. Hayes, Judge Mills said, do you understand why you are here? Nash's voice was rough from lack of use, but it was clear. Yes, Your Honor, I understand. My wife asked for guardianship, claiming I was incompetent. I also understand she is now trying to do the same thing to my father, and I understand that it is time to tell the truth. Then please do, Judge Mills said. Nash took a deep breath. I watched him gather strength from somewhere deep inside. 3 years ago, my wife and I argued about money. I have a trust fund my mother created with strict limits on access. Sloane wanted me to break those limits and withdraw the full amount for investments. I refused. She became angry. We were standing at the top of the stairs in our house. She pushed me. I fell. His voice stayed calm and factual. I woke up in the hospital with a head injury and confusion. By the time I was clear enough to understand what had happened, she had already secured guardianship. She told doctors I was having violent delusions. I tried to explain the truth to the facility staff, but Dr. Flynn West dismissed it as trauma-related false memories. I tried to send messages out, but every call and message was monitored and controlled. I have been a prisoner for 3 years, Your Honor, locked away while my wife drained my accounts and searched my father's house for documents that would give her control over everything. Blair jumped to her feet. This is a classic case of false memory caused by brain trauma. Chase stood calmly. Your Honor, there is one more piece of evidence. He nodded to Ford. A recording played from the courthouse hallway during the recess 90 minutes earlier. Sloane's voice filled the room, sharp and angry, speaking to Henry when she believed no one else was listening. You should have signed what I needed, Henry. You should have stayed confused and cooperative. Nash was never good enough, never ambitious enough. When he fell down those stairs, I saw an opportunity. I needed to protect my children's inheritance from his incompetence and control everything. You forced me to take steps I did not want to take. Under Oregon's one-party consent law, the recording was legal. Ford had been standing beside Henry during the conversation. The courtroom went silent. Judge Mills's face was hard as stone. I have heard enough. Nash Hayes's guardianship is terminated effective immediately. Ms. Calloway's petition against Henry Hayes is dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Hayes will be released from Cedar Brook today. I am ordering an immediate investigation into Ms. Calloway for guardianship fraud, financial exploitation, and possible attempted homicide. Court is adjourned. The gavel struck hard, echoing through the room. Sloane's face went pale. That evening, she was arrested at her home. It was the beginning of justice, but not the end. 6 months after the trial, Nash and the children moved back to the ranch. The house that felt empty after Rose's death was full again, with laughter, bedtime stories, and the sound of healing. The aftermath of the trial was swift and complete. Sloan was convicted on multiple charges, including guardianship fraud, financial exploitation, and conspiracy. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison with no early parole. The investigation into Cedarbrook spread quickly. Dr. Flynn West and 3 staff members were arrested for conspiracy. 12 other patients were identified in similar situations, people hidden away by families seeking control of their assets. All were freed, guardianships were reviewed, and the facility was permanently shut down. Paige North received immunity in exchange for her testimony and now works with a guardianship reform advocacy group. Dean Shaw's family finally learned the truth about his actions. I visited them myself and made sure they knew their husband and father had saved Nash's life. Without Dean's courage, that Saturday morning at the market, my son would still be imprisoned. We owe him everything. The investigation into Quinn Drake's death was reopened, though no charges have been filed yet. Nash came home 3 days after the hearing. Ivy and Knox followed a week later after family therapy. The transition was hardest on the children. Their mother was in prison, their father was almost a stranger, and their grandfather, who once seemed old and quiet, was suddenly revealed as a fierce fighter. Slowly, healing began. Nash took over work on the ranch, fixing fences and caring for the cattle, tasks his body remembered even as his mind struggled with the 3 years he had lost. Therapy helped all of us. We rebuilt our relationships through small moments, pancake breakfasts, homework at the table, and bedtime stories. Ivy struggled the most. She was angry at her mother and grieving the future she thought she would have. Knox was more adaptable, younger, and quicker to adjust. We ate dinner together every night, passing dishes, sharing our days, slowly stitching back together what Sloan had torn apart. One autumn evening, 6 months later, I sat on the porch watching the sunset spread across the fields. Nash sat beside me with Knox on his lap, Ivy leaning against my chair. Fireflies flickered in the air. I never thanked you properly, Nash said softly. For not giving up, for believing in me when I could not even speak to you. I squeezed his shoulder. You are my son. Giving up was never an option. Inside, Rose's photo sat on the mantel beside her framed letter, words I knew by heart. Fight for our son. You are stronger than you think. I had not won through violence, money, or power, but by refusing to accept comfortable lies, by trusting my instincts, and by taking one step at a time when everything felt impossible. Truth had won. Justice had come, not loudly or in headlines, but here in my son's laughter, my grandchildren's healing, and the ranch reclaimed from those who tried to take it. Grandpa, tell us a story, Ivy asked. I smiled. Once upon a time, there was a man who thought he understood everything about his family. I told them a gentle version of the story, about a brave father held captive, a grandfather who fought for truth and justice that finally prevailed. One day they would know all the details. Tonight, they only needed hope. The stars came out. Fireflies glowed. Our family was together. This was victory. This was everything. Looking back on this true story, I see a man who almost lost everything because he chose comfort over truth. Do not be like me. Do not ignore the warning signs when someone you trust starts controlling the story. Do not wait 3 years to ask the hard questions. God gave us instincts for a reason. I felt it when Sloan smiled and her eyes stayed cold. I felt it when Nash's sudden trips did not make sense. I ignored those signs because facing them felt too hard. That nearly cost me my son. Here is what these grandpa stories have taught me. Evil grows when good people choose convenience instead of courage. When that package arrived at the farmer's market, God gave me a chance to fight. I could have ignored it, called it a mistake, and returned to a comfortable lie. Instead, I chose the harder path and found my family waiting on the other side. This true story is not unique. Right now, somewhere in America, Another family is being destroyed by guardianship fraud and financial abuse, with the legal system used as a weapon. These grandpa stories must be told, heard, and shared because they carry lessons that can save lives. Your courage to speak up could make the difference. God placed you in your family for a reason. Do not let fear silence you when something feels wrong. That is the heart of all grandpa stories worth telling. We fight for those we love. If this true story moved you, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you do not miss another powerful story. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Your voice matters. Your story matters. Together, we fight for truth.